Let's talk about the Charger situation. You never want to hear this. You don't want to see it, and it happened right before noon. The Chargers lost their Pro Bowl left tackle, whom they just signed a highest paid contract ever in Rashawn Slater. They are now fearing he has a torn ACL. He was in a pass blocking 3-on-3 assignment. He got beat off the snap by Tuli Tuipulotu, the young pass rusher, planted to try to block him, and it looks as if his knee exploded and went down and stayed down. They had to put him on a cart. He just completely emotionally fell apart. Took him towards the locker room. Took 3 people to help him off the cart. He could not put any weight on his leg. This is a terrible story. He's a really fine player, really good guy. And now you might not have him. And now suddenly, and it's being reported, they fear torn ACL. That's end of season injury. Who's your left tackle? Can't be Trey Pipkins, who failed at right tackle, failed at right guard. They moved him into left guard. That hasn't quite, you can't put him out there. Who the hell is going to play left tackle? And the Chargers got another problem because one game into preseason, they played in the Hall of Fame game, they waved the white flag on the idea of moving Zion Johnson from left guard into center because Johnson's struggling in pass blocking regimen at center. So Zion Johnson's going back to left guard for their preseason game against New Orleans, and Brad Bozeman, who was a starting center last year, 32nd ranked starting center, he's got to go back to center. And all of a sudden, with a snap of one play, a pass rush, they lose their left tackle. They've given up on the center experiment. And all of a sudden, they're kind of like in a world of hurt. And if that's not enough, Najee Harris is nowhere near practicing. All Harris is being allowed to do now is power walk along the perimeter of the field wearing a helmet. No physical activity, no running. Obviously, he's not practiced. It does not look like he's going to be ready to start the season. And the other thing, and I guess part of me says this is cool, but part of me says, why him? Well, the Chargers re-signed Keenan Allen, who's got 940 plus receptions and an illustrious career. They brought him back. He was with the Bears last year, caught 70. He's a route runner. And my concern is, so now you got Keenan Allen, slot route runner, Ladd McConkey, the exciting young second-year guy. He's a route runner on the other slot. They do throw to their tight ends. Where's the speed guy going to line up, and who is the speed guy? It's not Keenan Allen. Can you really trust Quentin Johnston? And the 2 kids they drafted, Trey Harris and the other kid, Smith, drops, mistakes. All of a sudden, the Chargers at the wide receiver core, there's something weird there because you're not going to have any deep down the field threats, I think, for Justin Herbert, because you got 2 route runners now going to be your top 2 wide receivers, and you got the tight ends you throw to, and none of those guys are deep down the field. So the Chargers, all kinds of issues. We talked about it just briefly, the Denzel Perryman situation. I made the comment last Monday, let's just give this thing some time to see what the facts were. He was apprehended, traffic stop, opened up the trunk of his SUV, found 5 firearms, including 2 AR-15s. He was held in jail for 2.5 days. No bond posted. He was held in jail. Jim Harbaugh went to visit him in jail. They never charged him. What they've done, they finally decided to release him. Now, his agent said, no charges, he's free to come back to the NFL. District attorney says, no, the case is still active. We're going to continue this investigation. Charges could still be filed against Denzel Perryman. So he's not out of this thing completely. To me, I guess the issue, and they're not talking about it specifically, the issue is, did he have permits for the AR-15 assault rifles? Because that's a felony if you don't. So that has not been resolved right now. He's out. He's with the team. I don't know if he's going to play this weekend against New Orleans. Case, though, has not been resolved. But I'm flabbergasted because I've known him. I've interviewed him. He's a good guy. I think he's a stand-up football player, stand-up citizen. But if the law says you have to register these attack rifles, these AR-15s, and he didn't, I don't know how you explain your way out of that one. So that's a bit of an issue there. That's the latest with the Chargers. The Rams, holding their breath, have not been able to sort out fact from fiction. Matthew Stafford twice went to see Dr. Robert Watkins, who's the premier neck and spine specialist who treats NFL players. They believe he's got an inflamed disc. They gave him an epidural injection this past week. He is going to attempt to throw lightly, just lightly, like you and me stand and throwing a football, to see if there's how his back reacts. We're now 3 weeks away from the start of the NFL season. He's never been in camp. And he never got hurt. This all came up after the OTAs because he threw in all the OTAs. He held private throwing sessions on his own with Devontae Adams, his tight ends, and with Puka Nacua. And then all of a sudden, bingo, he's got this back soreness problem that refused to go away. So the jury is still a little bit out as to whether he'll be ready to start the season. Jimmy Garoppolo has taken all the snaps. Stetson Bennett is the number 2 quarterback, and that's all they've got in the Rams camp. So if Matthew Stafford's back issue, having an epidural might solve it, but he hasn't practiced at all. If you don't have Matthew Stafford being Matthew Stafford to start the season, your season and your offense is not going to be the same. So, John, hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm putting these topics on the table because we can talk about it. And Chargers at left tackle, Rams at quarterback, those are big stories.
Yeah, the quarterback story with the Rams is concerning. I mean, because remember we were hearing all this love from Devontae Adams when he rolled into camp in the Rams organization, and he's probably thinking, Matthew Stafford, that's my new guy, and we're going to go win a championship. And now there's no Stafford. I was just wondering, that must really kill the vibe in the locker room right now.
Well, I mean, injuries are part of the game, but that's a very different team if Matthew Stafford is not there on the field as it is if it's Jimmy Garoppolo or Stetson Bennett on the field, and they only got 3 weeks left. And even if he has limited practices, you're going to get into opening game Sunday. You can't protect him. He's going to get hit.
Yeah.
And what happens if he gets hit? So it's a tough story.
I mean, I just know when I have back trouble, you just like bump me on the arm and I'm like down on the floor. So I don't know how he'd do it. Now for the Chargers, what a terrible piece of news about Rashawn Slater. Would Joe Alt be a candidate to kind of flip to the other side, be the blind side guy?
When Slater had this nerve problem in his foot, they had to do a minor surgical procedure. He missed the beginning of camp. Alt took left tackle, but he seemed to hold up, and he did play left tackle in college. But the burning question is, so you take him at left tackle, they got no right tackle. So you got a vacancy somewhere in the front, and you got a substandard situation in the offensive center, and the offensive guard has not played like he played his first 2 years in the league. All of a sudden, they got 3 issues here in this offensive line, and you don't have your heavy-duty running back. And is there a speed guy at wide receiver that you can trust? Suddenly, there's a bunch of check marks here. Say, holy cow, where'd this all come from?
How about maybe Darius Davis? Could this be his year to stand out as the speed guy on the edge?
He's a mighty might, but he's a small guy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, they got 3 speed guys. So we'll just have to see who's going to be the guy, because I just don't think, as great as Keenan Allen is and as dynamic as Ladd McConkey is, and he took a lot of hits last year, you can't have a plodding passing game. You need a terrorist that's going to run post, run sideline stuff. It's going to create havoc. And who's that going to be? Because to me, this is the last go-around for Quentin Johnston. He's disappeared again in training camp. He had one workout where he caught a bunch of passes, and everybody, Quentin Johnston has grown again. And then he started dropping balls again and suddenly played.
Wow. So were they hoping that Mike Williams was going to be the speed guy if he didn't get hurt?
Yeah, big size guy. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, mismatches down the field. And then he walked away from football. I think he walked away because he's had 4 major injuries. He was tired of being hurt, and he made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they were shocked and stunned. Luckily, Keenan Allen's out there, but Keenan Allen, he's a good player. But Keenan Allen is not deep.
No, but he's a Cal guy, right?
Yes.
So he's a Cal guy, a San Diego Charger. Well, he was in San Diego for part of that.
Oh, a long time.
Yeah, and then he was with the LA team probably for a little while.
Yes.
Okay.
And then went to Chicago last year. They asked him to take a pay cut. He said no, so they moved him.
All right.
So he's back. But all of a sudden, there's a bunch of things on this checklist he's a little worried about. Okay, NFL fans, Rams, Charger fans, jump on board. Fans forum chat box is open. We